So thesaurus.com is what we're going to be using today. Okay, so let's go to the requisite classes and let's determine exactly what we channels. Or on my phone, I'm trying to actual stream itself. Yeah, okay. Alright, I got the chat open on my. Okay. It's actually a little bit behind.
The video?
It says I'm hovering on that. Definitely not. Got it. Okay. So, to start. And apologies to anyone watching already. I'll probably say this multiple times today. I won't be able to ramble for quite as long as I usually do. So, should be more measured, or at least a little bit more efficient. When you're trying to come up with names for abilities, a lot of the time, working with sounds, like most of the time, I'm trying to figure out sounds that operate well together. Sometimes you're looking for an exact word that describes the ability. Other times you're looking for something more gestural, sort of gets the action that you want to portray. Um, you can add a symbolic layer to the. It's worth doing most times. Uh, Usually, as you go, start to figure out what that symbolic layer is. Um, and while technically we could do stuff like double shot or charge shot or swing, I feel like it's better to have each of the abilities work as a chapter, kind of title of a chapter for that class. And so sequentially, they should build into creating their own sub narrative and hopefully over narrative, the one that the writing team is working on. Sub narrative mesh well with work symbolic. Um, so oftentimes when I'm how to represent an ability with a name, I'll look at the action that it's causing and the fantasy behind the ability. For the mage classes, I think it's a little bit more. Because generally, when you're creating things for melee classes, you're thinking about the action behind the ability. It may be. Like if you've got something where you're hitting a guy multiple times, then you think through what the character is. Well, if he's a barbarian, how does that look? Just hefting this axe at someone, cleaving them. The the words are generally heavier. A rogue who's stabbing someone multiple times. Generally, the words are subtle, more incisive, but less cacophonous, I guess. So, um, I guess all of that is to say you want to match the words to the character, match the sounds to them, and that's all a lot to keep in mind. But I think it creates something that's more immersive for the player. So, as for how we go about actually doing this, since I've sort of describe the overall process. For someone like the Writsmith, we've decided that a liar, I still can't remember for that. It's not like he's, what's the word? Just lie because you are compelled to. But since he's a liar, generally what we would do is we go to the word lie, try and find a synonym that is a little bit more abstract, kind of fits the character a little better than just the word itself. So this page we have deceit, deception, dishonesty, disinformation, distortion, evasion, fabrication, falsehood, fiction. In terms of the word that I think fits the class best, this list, the sound that fits best is probably fib, which is interesting that it would be. Of course, fib is too whimsical what this class is, but if you're looking for sounds at first, then something like fib, soft I, is kind of what we this guy. You also want to avoid words like aspersion, as interesting as they are, and as cool an ability as aspersion would be. It's going to know what that means. And even if this guy is very learned, um, what's generally better is to find words that people out of them so that they can recognize both of the roots and sort of figure out what you're trying to say with the ability. It's something I came to after a long time of working through. I think on the IOTLs, there's an ability to tissinate. It's the most abstract I've gotten.
But it also sounds really neat.
Yeah, yeah. The word vaticinate is very interesting, and it happens to work really well. It's to prophecy, basically.
Huh.
So, looking at lie and we're not really getting anything off the first page, generally I'll go to the next tab to tell an untruth. So, if the noun is untruth, look at the verb. And verbs are better for actives and basics, whereas nouns are generally better for passives. Because the passives are representation, a trait that the player has acquired or the character has acquired. Basics and actives are representative of actions they're taking. So if we're looking for the first word, first name, the Writsmith, and it's a basic ability, then we're going to generally. So beguile,
Kind of like distort.
distort. Yeah, that definitely has the implication of time in it, which is something that's important for this class. And
Well, there's fib again too. So
yeah, it's unfortunate that the sound is so good and the word is so lackluster.
it's because we've been learning it since we were little kids. You didn't lie. You told fibs.
It's true. It's got that connotation, that sort of
Yeah.
childhood.
And it's not something to easily take out of someone's head when they see the word.
Yeah, a lot of the times you're working on a line between connotative and denotative meaning. So you're looking at what player will think about when they see the word, and then you're also looking at the actual meaning of the word. A lot of the times, people don't frequently coming into a game, any sort of game, if they don't recognize a word, they generally still have associations for that word. They don't need to know the denotative meaning. They can pick up some of it from the context clues. And so sometimes we'll use words like winnower, um, and hope that people have sort of heard of the term and that it leaves a vague impression for something that they're supposed to see rather than expecting them to get the denotative meaning. Like I said, they should be chapter names. So the the ability is sort of the text within that chapter should help them. It should be the context clue for the word, basically. It should act in that way. So I don't think we're going to get to it from, but generally they have on this site, as you scroll down, more words that are related to it. So bluff is one of those. Fainting is something that's more rogue-like. Delusion is interesting. It's not an ability, but when you click on
Mm.
the word delusion, I know that you're probably, hey, Evil Hollow, to the stream. Sorry we weren't up yesterday. Still residually sick, but it's much better. um, what you can do, as I said, I know,
Ooh.
watching the stream, so you're going to be a little bit off. It's actually happening in real time, but basically, I'll click delusion, and that'll take me to the next page where delusions are. Whereas lying is an act of misguiding people, delusion is more of a lie to oneself. I was going to say something else, but this per usual words escape me. Um, Lapse is interesting. Lapse is really interesting. Probably use lapse.
Did you
So
see subterfuge?
subterfuge. Yeah, the issue with subterfuge is it's 3 syllables,
Oh yeah.
and they don't
It has to be
sound
something pretty big to use 3 syllables.
right. Usually, like a 3 syllable word is coming in for some big action.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to say about that. I didn't really explain it very well.
It's okay. Just trying to add to. And the issue for me with subterfuge is that while it's an interesting word, the sounds within the word perfectly well together. If you look at the penguin's name, Batman, this is a random example, but I was thinking about it last night while I was feverish. Oswald Cobblepot sounds fantastic. Like it's just a great name. It doesn't rely on alliteration like most comic book names do. Peter Parker. In fact, a lot of names from the Batman series don't. But the sounds are good because the ah sound is replicated in actually it's 3 times that you see it. Oswald, Obble. Also, within the second part of his name, Cobblepot, you have a B, a P sound, hard that are working softer sounds of the O's. In fact, you have very hard O at the beginning of Oswald. Anyway, when you go through and you look at words, get names, like try and determine why they sound good, what sounds good about them. I find that it helps a lot. So the reason I'm looking at lapse is because it's a single syllable, and the word itself could be connected to another word, and generally that's what I'm looking for. So,
Not to mention that the phrase time lapse
time lapse.
is commonly used.
Right. Yeah. Um, I can actually go give you guys an example, right? Something that I tried to do, Lost Strider, something I try and do with every class with the names is I want the name of the first ability to bookend with the name of the last ability as a sort of callback. With the Cavalier, the first rank is Outride. The rank 10 is Ruin. That's a veiled reference to the Lord of the Rings films. Theoden says, "Ride to ruin." We ride to ruin, I believe. Anyway, I guess also the novels, but I don't actually said that in the. Um, I don't expect anyone to get that or anything. It's fun for me. The Lost Strider, I went for something that's a bit more, not I guess obvious, but you don't have to know specifically what I'm saying to understand that the word warrant frequently has death coming before it, as does the word knell, which is their common. And all of the names for the Lost Strider are meant to reflect this sort of that image of the Reaper as something that's symbolically based around times of harvest. So the issue I'm having, I guess, is that the Writsmith want to make something that's just as interesting symbolic. Can't really start that way though. I just have to put something down there. So I don't know what would work with collapse. Collapse is a word. The issue with lapse is that it's very difficult to put a second word behind it because the
I think it's just because we're so used to it being structured as a end to a statement.
is much better. It's a suffix.
Unless you were saying lapsing, that's a point where I can see it being ahead of something else.
I wonder if it needs to have any more attached to it than just lapse. I
Mm.
also wonder if that's something that fits what this ability is doing.
But I mean, a lapse is it's directly mistake.
It's a time lapse, memory lapse.
No, I mean, lapse literally means mistake.
Sure, yes, like a lapse in judgment. I'm just looking
Yeah.
at all of the concepts that are attached to it.
Oh yeah.
Uh, the issue here is that that name works better. The rank 4 target an enemy ability that's currently on the stack,
Yeah.
then suspend it. And my issue with putting it is I think there's a magic card.
Oh yeah.
Lapse of certainty. Sometimes I've used magic card names, but I try lapse of certainty memory. They've had so long to create names, so many years that just always end up running to Magic the Gathering as we go. Okay, so lapse. Maybe we're going in the wrong. Let's go back to
I
delete.
mean, he's not just a liar. We can also look at the connection between, if we want to do the words that we've been using from lying to magician-y words.
No, yes, you're right. He's not just a liar, but I was trying to think about like what a white lie is. What another word is. Truth, distortion, deceit. Jesus. Flim flam. With like the very first ability, you want to tease what's to come, rather than making a comment on exactly what the person is. Ooh, fable. Fable's getting us somewhere. I know that the word myth is something we'll probably try to do that quite. Parable. Parable is interesting because it suggests the word parabolic, which could in turn tie back in with time adjustment. Time. And I wonder if that's not just a good just word, parable. Because it's technically getting at the fact that it's lying, directly stating it. Makes sense for his character since he's going out from this place to tell a story basically to his journey. Don't think I have an issue with the rank one. What do you
Mm.
Namely, what I'm looking at here is that the sounds are soft. The sounds are soft, and it gives us a way of suggesting without telling, on a very like low level suggestion. Works well with Writsmith in general. To begin,
Yeah, out of the words I've got, parables working the best right now.
I think fable is also work. Interested in parable suggests parabolic. Not sure if that's true for most people. Just enough
I think you
quantitative.
lose something by naming it fable, and not just the allusion to the other word, but it just feels a little more childish and easy.
Parable is something that is much more generally. It's not that you don't start speaking about it until you're in high school.
Which actually, you said that so many times, I just thought of the word paradox.
Yes, that's another thing that it suggests. We already have at rank 7. We have paradoxes, a sub portion of the ability,
Yeah.
so that'll be good and grow from there. Maybe we'll have multiple. No, see, sometimes I think about things like having similar sound, pair of something. I don't like generally don't like doing. One thing that I get kind of anal about is I'll start with something like parable, and then I'll look for a word that sounds good with it to put as the next ability. That's not necessary, but sequentially it makes sense, at least to me, for all of the words to sound good together.
Right.
So warrant, it shares a sound with partially shares sounds with winnow. R sounds are connector. Gibbous breaks the pattern.
But it does go back to winnower, forage, and warrant.
So I really, I'm almost thinking about these and need to I almost think about these as though you're writing a poem with 10 words that's supposed to represent exactly what the class is. Fairly reduced poem, something with definite beginning and end connections that a person could read and emerge with an this would be. Unfortunately, it's got to be something that's stylized, but the words in and of themselves can actually be quite beautiful. Work on them. So I take this fairly seriously. It's actually probably spend time on outside of design, actual
Yeah.
design.
I mean, if you're looking at them separately too, there's the almost the same amount of effort put into each of these steps.
Yeah, I think that's how it should. I don't think that any player is really going to get. They're not going to rate the game 10 because of their abilities or anything. I do think that in extra work, the player will acknowledge. At least if I were playing, saw cool abilities that were trying to tell me a story, I think I'd appreciate that more than just wild swing or something. So that's why I take the extra time.
Yeah.
So the next ability is a passive, which we're looking at. This is stacks. Should work with the parable to tell a little bit of story, and of course, parable is a story. So maybe we're going too deep into the.
Don't worry about it.
um, all right, so it's a noun. It's going to describe what echo stacks do. I keep thinking about reflections.
Like
Echo,
an echo in time.
right. Issue with using the word echo is
Because
that,
it's the name of the stack.
yes, and the issue with using it as the name of the stack is that with certain words like weapon, there are a number of synonyms, different directions you can kind of, whereas the word echo is actually fairly limited. Different directions it can, how many different directions its synonyms can, um, certain words are more isolated than others. Yes, because they don't need as many elaborations upon what it means. Go is an echo.
Yeah.
Certainly, you do have the idea of reflection. Petition. Currents. Rhythm. Chant. Chorus.
I got to rebound.
Rebound has too much of a sporty connection for me.
Yeah. But I mean, the it pulled me into its description, which got me to ricochet.
It's, it's not a bad word. It sounds good.
I mean, maybe not for the Writsmith, but
Litany. Parable. soft. Tinny. Same amount of syllables. Once again, tangentially referencing stories, or parable directly references stories, indirectly references lying. Litany does the same thing. And we have a character, so I think it makes sense. Usually, it's not so easy to. We're getting so far. Makes sense for the first two words. It also seems to me that we're suggesting that he talks too much.
I was thinking for rank 2 also, maybe distort.
Distort.
Just reading through it.
Distort. Let me look at the word distort. This figure. I like distort. Just the word itself. Explore. I think we're going to get increasingly caught words like puzzle.
Yeah.
Of those, I don't dislike distort. The the issue for me is that a lot of the times when I think about the names, I'm thinking through my head sound like something that's appeared in Magic. How action based the word is. I think distort is like a little. It fills both of those categories. It's distortion strike is a card in Magic, but also it's so action based that I don't think it would be passive. Now it might be that we come back to it. A leader ability, but it also feels a bit like he has an awareness of what he's doing at that point. Use a word like distort,
Yeah, you're actively distorting.
it implies purpose, and I don't think at this point in his narrative this is what he can. Both parable and litany don't. They refer more to his schooling, to what he's actually schooling and personality he's doing, I suppose. Stack.
What about subsist?
Subsist. It's like surviving, right?
Yeah. See where we
Subsistence.
can get from there, if not that.
I like the word subsist a lot. I think subsist would work really in this class for either the dark elves or the wood elves. Subsist, subsist, subsist. Flex, mystify. So it's an interesting word. Something that we put. as a name. I don't ability cast this ability on the stack. You may have stack. I think Ravel works fine here, but it might be a little too early. So
Right. Because it's like the skill itself is unfolding.
sometimes it's as easy as just finding part of a word that that is rarely used. You almost never see Ravel the on it,
Mm-hmm.
so you can kind of make a comment to times that are more that are in the past by using the root. I don't know if I too early. It does kind of make sense for what the is doing. Tag, you make simple. Parable litany. So we side or receive an echo stack. Simple.
Maybe not here, but entwine.
I would take the word something in front.
That brings right up to coil, and I instantly like that word.
Circle. Involution. Spiral. Bend. Um,
Oh, hey, Faith. It's good to see you back watching us.
see you later. We're doing fairly well. I'm still a little sick, but we're just working on name design right now, so not something that requires a whole lot. It doesn't require you to be constantly building a. Just look at all of the framework you extrapolate. I like coil, but the sound is a little too hard. I like twine a lot. That sound is also a bit too hard.
Yeah, I was looking up almost really storytelling words, and I got to verse, and all of them just make me feel like they're more lyrical than anything. Because I was thinking something coil verse, something like that.
The issue, like one of the hard things with the word is that the word is so strong
Yeah,
sounding. Anything you put afterward just sort of sounds like an addendum. Whereas if you find something like
I can hear sound coming off your video. Yeah.
sorry,
I know I can hear it. Maybe it's me. Oh, it was me.
Okay.
Okay. It was all the way at the end, but it wasn't muted.
It's like, dang. Sorry.
That's fine. Oh, that's me. That's my own fault.
um.
Yeah, I know. I'm not throwing out the best ideas. I'm just trying to throw out ideas.
I mean, first of all, this is not something. This is something that's fairly difficult, because it's not like design where you can come at the so many different angles by talking about it. It's almost like you're just trying to find that needle in the haystack.
What about weave?
Word weave.
And I'm not saying these words for the specific skill we're on.
Yeah, it
I've been
definitely
writing them all
implies
down.
that you're playing with the fabric of time.
Maybe that'd be good for our Stormish one.
Like, if we were making a magic card, the word I like if you took weave and you put the word aether in front. Fortunately, we're looking most of the time. I'm looking for something exists. It's just a matter of finding that it exists. If I can take a word that already exists, I mostly do that. There's no word that represents it, then I have to go create something, and I try and be as spare as possible when the one sort of is something that is that ability presenting a move. Generally, all of the words for that, like slashing, are weapon representative. So it'll to an axe or a sword, or something else. Fortunately for us, our game, I suppose fortunately, different characters have different weapons, so you can't put an Umbra blade to the kit
Well, yeah.
because you're not always going to be wielding. So it's probably just a little bit too
Convoluted.
too anime-ish.
Yeah. It's the difference between sounding cool and sounding good.
Exactly.
Time. You know what? I'm just gonna type in time.
See you there, Ocker Jam. So we're looking
Stint.
terrible litany.
Might be good later.
Is currently on the stack. This is the one mentioned that some other name for it.
Oh man. Was it? Were you talking about parable here too?
So
Not distort.
luckily, there's one of the cool things about Saurus is that it has a
Reason
back
the view.
feature at the top,
Oh, does it? Oh, hey, look at that.
which is one of my favorite. So you can see your train of thought. Usually, if I get stuck at the end of the path, I'll go back through and look for the word that's the closest to what I want. I think lapse was the word that I'm considering. I think the issue with me is that it feels, when compared with to
Harsh.
pragmatic, yeah. It's kind of it's parable litany. Gentler, subtle. Generally, like let's say we got to rank six and around six in the story, we thought something big was going to happen. That's slightly more discordant train of soft sounding words.
Yeah.
But I think for this class, we would look for something that was only discordant.
I think we need to stick with words with that soft A and the L.
It's the L. It's connecting. This one shifts delays. So let's go from delay. Oh, stall is the most considering it. Just journalist.
That T instantly made it really hard. And
Stall.
excuse me for sounding weird about that.
Still.
Stint?
Sound. Delaying is what we want. It's more. It is delaying. It's that is the most surface level explanation of what it's doing.
Yeah.
What it's really doing is it's
Sculpt?
sculpt. It's good. That's still I think at this point it's too much.
Yeah.
Control. That's actually where slice etch.
Ooh, yeah.
It's under is where we feels a lot like you're hopping. Go to the next stream. Cart. Sometimes it's on the thesaurus that you want something that's like if for instance I'm looking for the exact word stitch.
Well, then pop out of the thesaurus and actually go to Google.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, sometimes it requires research. Like when I was getting a little bit cornered on Strider, I would term oval. Greek or Roman history, they had some coin since tongue when they said they'd have the
Yeah,
river
it's
sticks.
river sticks, yeah.
It's an oval.
I knew that they did that, but I didn't know the word.
But I don't think that you need to know the word to
Understand.
to see the ability to get the sounds. It's something that you're interested in, maybe look up.
I mean, if it helps, I've got on Wikipedia, I've got scribe, magician, and time open, and I'm just looking at words that pop up a lot in
Scribe.
them.
Scribe. Scribe. describe. The cool thing about etch is that you can put some stuff after etch fetter. Sounds good, doesn't it? Good. I don't know if he's etching though, because he's like,
Yeah, etching sounds very deliberate.
it depends. Something that's a little bit further away from speech than I'd like speaking. Discord.
Moment. Let's see. Jubilee. Indication. Oh, indiction.
To cut in.
Lustrum.
Expand. Stop. Send. Sync. Cease. Stay. Suspend. Suspend is the term magic. Stylized. Sure. Okay, so mall. And Speaking of like, the reason I went to go exact word stitch is that there's not a way to represent
The action.
right as clearly as is possible in English language. That's another reason why I wish I was multilingual. Not that it would work here, but it gives you a lot more to pull from when you're trying to describe things. It seems to me that this is just having issues. It's just not charge record. Terrible at smart adapter. Just keep doing your business. HP smart adapt. I, I love you. Why don't you love me back? Top of the flu, you're gonna dance to me. Terrible litany rap. HP power adapter driving me absolutely insane right now. Just lived a good long life. Continue living that life instead of doing what it's doing right now. Terrible in your out. It's not today. Having a really tough time working on this while my adapter's doing. We're not looking for something like Wayne. I think the pattern that we've established is storytelling. So, since that's the case, all of our symbolism has to be story related. So, while etch kind of works for that, I'm looking for something that's a little bit more, I guess, like dialogue.
Speaking more towards the character and its story.
So, let's look at dialogue then. um, Someone off through inter. But in.
Halt, isolate, renounce, discontinue, disconnect, separate. Uh, Cessation. Compress.
Intercede. Abeyance. Gosh, I'm sorry, guys. I wish I could talk more. It's currently on stack. Okay, so it's more like he's editing. Guys. Sensor. Find something that is like a man. Refers to time in some way. Tangentially. Bridge. Blacklist, bleach. Seal control. Size. Sound. My Skype chooses to freeze now. It's just that kind of day.
Yeah. And we are sorry that this is pretty much seeming to be a very boring stream right now.
Yeah, yeah. So what I'm doing right now is I was trying to find exactly what the action is we're attempting to define. And what we were doing earlier is we were trying to figure out some way of making interrupt work, some some synonym, distant interrupt. But I think what he's doing, which is like interrupting, in fact, as to it is editing. The issue is that looking for a word, I'm looking for a word that carries across the same idea as edit, but somehow related to time. Unfortunately, because the English language is not narrow, but in fact, it allows for quite a bit of freedom. Unfortunately, though, what we try and do is we try and keep all of our ability names to one word. So finding the exact word that's both things is rough. It's hard to find. And by the end of it, I might not even want that word, even if I do find it, because it doesn't sound good. But hopefully, by finding it, I can then search through synonyms of it, get to something that's better. So, what edits time? What is an amendment to time? That is the question that we're trying to answer. Or what is an amendment that's related to time? Um, yeah, it's pretty hard to find this one. I did mention the last time that we spoke it's going to be this way, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I was prepared for this. no, no hidden tricks here.
I think that maybe if we look to music,
Yeah, that's what I was saying earlier, but I felt like music pulled away from what he was trying to do.
but you very rarely find things that are timing related editing outside of something like
Music.
music. Caesura
I've got.
is
I was
a
holding on to verse.
literary term. I think caesura is probably
Can you define?
it's an interruption.
Oh, really?
It's in poetry is a caesura is like a metrical, and I'm taking that from the history, but basically, yeah, it's like a sorts
Hmm.
that's put in place. And I think maybe that it's something that recognize unless they have a literary background.
Where
The
are we?
word on its own works as a skill name.
It does. It does sound a little bit deliberate after you described it.
um, and I could be justifying it. Uh,
It's gonna do what we need it to do, and it carries across the A and the soft S.
so, Rebel Litany Rap Seizure, or like one syllable less, it would work. That's what you get sometimes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna look through just one more time to make sure that we're not missing something better.
Then you should probably start right from Caesura.
Yep. Lacuna. Uh, interesting, but not.
Made me go straight to Laguna, which makes me think of water.
Lull. The word lull.
Oh, like lulling to sleep.
That's the connotation for sure.
Very gently or relaxingly.
Yeah, I think Seizure is about as good as we're gonna get.
I agree, and yeah, I've been. I feel like I'm not doing so much
Well,
just because all these names,
this
but
is
that's fine, and it's more learning for me.
first time, and I can tell you right now that it's not something that happens all that frequently to go through and name things. Usually,
No,
we
it's
have to do a
fine.
bunch of design work first. So I can say that the practice part of it is just becoming acquainted with how to jump from
Yeah.
associations. It's just like, and I guess this is a form of design, but it's just like ability design in a number of ways. There are of course differences, but I think closest the closest it comes to ability design is when you realize that you've just been thinking about it. Sort of like when we got the rank 10. We'd been
Yeah.
thinking about it and from the wrong approach for so long that we got stuck in that. So what this has taught me, at least, it's taught me is, just to try and vary your approach as often as possible. Like, stuck up on the ones that you started with.
Yeah.
Actually, getting 4 words or 4 abilities done in an hour and 19. So we've only this for about 10. It's pretty good timing, or pretty good time. It helps a hell of a lot to have a sounding board, just from my perspective.
Yeah.
Seizure syllable. Seizure kind of is rough. Whenever you would attack on your turn or cast an active ability during an enemy's turn, you may have a target enemy or this is at least one echo stack. Gain is one echo stack. It certainly seems like it is also editing. It's more elaboration. Discussion. Seizure brief. that's where a little bit more interesting for people. It's one of those necessary of design work. It's not boring to me. It's boring for sure. It's boring from perspective. It's difficult. I've done it before.
Difficult, yeah, but not too much boring. Just new thought processes.
Subtract stacks that are already to your. We didn't ever go editing. We never took the editing idea to its natural conclusion. We went in a different direction.
Right.
So adding or subtracting something from something. Is that adjusting? Just adjusting values, altering, certainly alter, which of course goes back to
Yes.
it's quite its own. Adapt might be because an adaptation refers to repurposing, like the film adaptation.
Yeah.
Of something. Parable litany, caesura. Can't be an action, it's got to be in the noun. So it would be adaptation, but it's syllables and syllable. This is kind of action-based passive. Let's reshape. Me too. What if you're adapting something with sorcery? What are you doing?
Adapting as in using sorcery as an implement to get something done.
To change something.
To change. You're altering. You're transmogrifying.
Transmute, alter,
transmute, yeah.
Tate. I gotta go to time. I think it's time to go to time. Maybe we can get something for this. Duration, eternity shift. Deviation. Transfer. Trick. Strategy. Switch. Flux. Translation. Assimilation. Paraphrase. Statement. Statement. For reversion. Story. To journal, diary, archives, history, narrative, recital.